And we're back on the For Real Movie Club on Mega Powers Radio and archived on fanboysanonymous.com. If you're just joining us, we are doing American Pride, and we have just covered the Patriot, Invasion USA, and Air Force One. Now it's time to make things a little lighter. We're going to talk about Team America, World Police. Movie made by the South Park dudes, Matt Stone and Trey Parker, featuring marionette puppets represented as the American police force going across the world, fighting terrorists and fighting for all that is good and American. This is very different from the other movies we watched, so I think this is going to be a big change in our conversation here. So let me go around and ask you guys the starting question I always, what was the initial impression after watching Team America, World Police? Eddie, why don't you start us off in that one?
It was okay. I first saw it back in, I don't know, was it 2005 or something like that? I don't know. I didn't even know when it came. When did it come out?
This movie came out in 2004, 2005, one of those two, somewhere around there.
I'll say 2005, 2006, something like that. I watched it, and I thought it was hilarious because it was just puppets. I mean, it was just like these silly, like kind of like Barbie dolls, sort of, but like on a string. And I'm like, there's no way you can see the strings throughout the whole movie. You can see the strings throughout the whole movie.
That's a joke.
And it's funny as hell. Like, and then when the characters try to walk, like, follow me. It's like this silly, ridiculous. Dude, I said, okay, Trey Parker and Matt Stone are two comedy geniuses, and I think they made it in this movie, this particular kind of format. They made it work because it's so silly.
But this is not a thing you see happen too often. There are tons of movies made with marionette puppets for a reason. This movie was based on a television show. I think it was called Thunderbirds. It was actually a BBC show. You would know about this, Wago. Yep. That show was boring as shit. And it was done the same way. It had the puppets, but it was this more like space exploration show, I think it was. But it was just lots and lots of talk. So Wago definitely would have hated if it's filled with talk. But Wago, why don't you take over? What's your initial thoughts about this?
I've got him going south on Buckalaka Street. I fucking love this movie, and that's just because I'm a huge South Park fan, and it's South Park with puppets. There's no real way to explain it. And as far as Matt Stone and Trey Parker goes, I just get their humor. Fucking Orgasmo, whatever it was called that they made as well, that was fun as hell. Yeah. So these guys knocked it out of the park. They're a big fan of the music, and like, if you watch the South Park movie, it's just a big musical, pretty much what this was too. The comedy was golden, the puppets were hilarious, and this was my favorite out of the four. And I saw this back when it first came out, and I've rewatched it several times, and that's really one of my favorite films.
Johnna, how about you? What was your initial reaction to watching this?
Well, the initial reaction was, what the fuck did I just watch? But then I really enjoyed it. I was glad I watched it. I didn't watch it until much later, actually, after marrying Steven. So I waited a while after it came out, but I really, really liked it. It's just the stupid kind of humor that you just sometimes need.
Tony, wrap us up. What was your initial thoughts on that?
I originally didn't want to see this movie back when it came out, and I'm a big fan of the South Park series, but I hate puppet stuff. I think it's stupid. And I foolishly thought that would be something that I didn't like about this movie, but I was eventually convinced to see it, and the opening shot of the film where they're showing marionette puppets and it looks terrible, and it pans out to show like this glorious world of other puppets completely won me over, and from then on throughout the whole rest of the movie, I fucking love this movie. It's so goddamn funny.
Well, we touched about it a number of times. The big gimmick of this movie is, of course, the use of marionette puppets. A very interesting decision by Matt Stone and Trey Parker. This was, I think, the second major movie they did after the South Park movie. I forget where Orgasmo falls in that timeline, but that wasn't a big
1997.
Release. That wasn't a big release.
And
so
they did Basketball.
That also, I think that came after, didn't it?
Basketball came out in 99, something like that.
Well, that wasn't too big either. This was... I remember seeing a trailer for this during one of those big summer blockbuster movies. So this had a lot of oomph put behind it. And again, the use of puppets is just really bold. And I think they took that uniqueness and just ran with it so damn well. Because if you put a puppet movie in the hands of someone like, I don't know, the Wayans brothers, it would just be so goddamn stupid.
Yeah.
But these guys, they did it. So let me ask you guys specifically, what did you think of the use of puppets, and how well did they do with it, and what were some of your favorite puppet jokes? So, Tony, you already had the big claim on that, so why don't you go ahead and run with the puppets?
Eddie mentioned the way that they walk is something specifically that was funny. And another thing in the opening is when they build up this idea of the two are going to have this karate fight, and it's just the two kind of mashed up next to each other. That kind of stuff's so great. There's another one that probably a lot of people wouldn't pay that much attention to because it's not, over the top hilarious, but I had forgotten about it, and rewatching it made me laugh when Lisa goes to point at Gary's heart and says, like, oh, you've got it here or something like that, and she's like struggling to get the arm to stretch that far. There's so many fucking jokes that are great about that.
Johnna, what'd you think about the use of puppets?
I love the use of puppets. I think that there were a lot of jokes in there that they would have been funny without the puppets, but the puppets just made them even more hilarious. Like, I like when the guy that runs the force is just like, or walk this way or follow me this way, and he just like kind of prances out of the room. Or when Lisa after they have sex, she goes to shush him, and the first time she shushes his mouth, and then the second time she shushes his eyeball. And I'm like, and the sex was just even more awkward because of the fact that it was puppets, but it made it hilariously awkward instead of that weird awkward feeling you get when you're in the movie theater watching real people have sex on the movie theater screen with a bunch of people around you.
Oof. Thank goodness there wasn't a sex scene in The Patriot. That's all I'm saying.
You would have fucking done it with the American flag draped over him.
Freedom!
Steven, what'd you think of the puppets?
Oh, it was fucking ridiculously awesome. The sex scene was so stupid, and when they, I forgot what the darker-haired puppet's called, who was with the blonde guy.
I don't know.
But, yeah, they fucking end up with the Pampers or whatever they call them, and it's just two giant fucking cats.
I love it.
They fucking end up eating the other two, whatever actors had them tied up.
The fags.
Yeah, fag. But and obviously they'd stuff the fucking puppets with meat or something, because the cats would just rip them to shreds. It's fucking hilarious. I thought that was fantastic.
Genius use of the cats. Eddie, wrap us up on this. What'd you think of the puppets?
It was awesome, man. At first, also, I mean, I heard so much about the movie that I went out and I bought the DVD. Like, it was like 2006 or so. So I was like, okay, I was like, dude, so this is like puppets or what? It's like a cartoon? I don't get it. It's like, yeah, it's puppets. It's really funny. I'm like, really? I was like, whatever, man. I was like really bored. So I was like, sure, let's watch this crap. I'll probably. And it won me over. And it was like one joke after the other. Like the cat thing was so awesome. But the funniest thing was the sex scene to me. It was really funny. It was to me, that was funny as a sex scene. And then the MacGruber sex scene was really funny, if you guys know what I'm talking about. No.
There's one other thing that I really want to point out. I don't know if it's necessarily related to puppets, but I think it's something that you could only do in this kind of movie with the puppets, was when he comes out of the bar and he starts vomiting.
Yeah.
And like at first I was like, oh my god, this is going on so long. Fucking cut it already. And I thought it was going to be one of those things I really hated. But by the end, when he's just like, ah! And it's like all over the fucking place. And then finally,
Steve, that's just way too much vomiting.
and then he passes out, and it zooms out, and it's like, it's him in a puddle that's like 5 times the size of his body.
It's one of those Family Guy jokes that has gone on for way too long that it actually gets funnier.
Yeah. Well, at first it was getting more and more annoying, and I was like, okay, when is this going to end? And then finally, there was some breaking point where it started getting funnier and funnier, and then by the end, I was in stitches.
When it started spurting out of his mouth like a sprinkler system, that's when it kind of...
Well, it's funny you bring that up, because that's actually one of my high points of the whole film, is the music is so realistic for this genre. And I've used the word earnest before in, I forget if it was The Patriot or something like that, but they score this film as if it's completely serious.
Right,
so during that scene, you've got this obviously ridiculous vomiting that happens forever, and it's building up this, like, it's the equivalent of, like, this big triumph or something like that, of just, like, you get a little bit of a dip down, and then it's just like the da-da-da.
Yeah, like it's a moment of epiphany,
Yeah, that's what it sounded like. And to be fair, he went back to Mount Rushmore after he puked.
Right, so
Yeah,
it was like
it was a moment of
that
triumph.
over-the-top ridiculousness, and the score is so perfect for this movie for that, because I think it's Harry Gregson Williams does the music in it, and he's a part of the camp that works with Hans Zimmer and like Steve Jablonsky, who does the Transformers movies and all that. So they have a very similar style, and everybody, whether it's those guys or Craig Armstrong, you can kind of if you like one, you'll like the rest of them. And I love this soundtrack just by itself. And without thinking of this movie and the jokes that happen in the movie, I can listen to that and imagine something from like a Face Off or something like that, and it would work in those movies. So that's what helps keep this serious but over-the-top ridiculous kind of joke system that they've got going on in this movie. If it didn't have that music and it was played up to be silly and stupid, I don't think a lot of the jokes would have hit as much.
There was actually a fight
definitely.
between Matt Stone and Trey Parker and some of the executives where they wanted to have a sillier soundtrack. It's like, no, this needs to be deadpan, serious music to back us up.
Right.
But that actually transfers me into the next thing I wanted to talk about, which was the soundtrack for the movie. Not only do you have this excellent score, but as often that the South Park guys do, they are excellent at writing comedy music. And I think that's something people often overlook as one of their talents. Steven mentioned the South Park movie being pretty much a musical. Hell, they even have actually written a Broadway musical now with the Book of Mormon. Number of South Park episodes have great music in it. In this one, we had the iconic theme music, America, fuck yeah. There's that Pearl Harbor Sucks song, which is supposed to be like the sad love song, but it's just going on about how terrible that movie was.
Cuba Gooding Jr. was the best part.
There's just so much greatness. So let me go around and get your guys' opinion on the music and the soundtrack for the movie. Tony, since you already started up there, why don't you finish off any other thoughts you had on it?
You mentioned the Pearl Harbor Sucks one, which I thought was hilarious when I saw it. I really dug Everyone Has AIDS. That's another one of my favorite. But,
I love how they called it Lease instead of Run.
Right.
Like,
I gotta say, though, my favorite out of all of the songs is the sad theme of America. I think they actually refer to that on the soundtrack as America Fuck Yeah Bummer Mix. Fuck yeah. Oh, God. The music is so...
I just remember the first time I saw that when they're all sad and they're starting to come out of Mount Rushmore with all their planes, and I hear the piano playing. I was like, please tell me someone's going to say America fuck yeah, but all morose. And then it comes in and does it. It's like, yes, satisfaction. So happy for that. Tony, any other thoughts you want to throw on that?
No, I'll leave everything else to everybody else.
Okay. Eddie, why don't you take over? What'd you think about the soundtrack?
I'll tell you this. There's a bar next to where I lived in Orlando, and every Thursday was karaoke night. And every time I was there on a Thursday, there was always someone who requested the America Fuck Yeah song. Always. Every single week, somebody would sing that song. That's how iconic that soundtrack has become. I'll leave it at that. It's just flawless. It's serious. When it's serious, it's wonderful because it fits, and the funny songs are funny. So it's awesome. Pure awesome.
Johnna, how about you? What'd you like about the soundtrack in this?
well, the funny thing is, if you took out the lyrics, you could actually use a lot of these songs in actual action movies and romance movies and things like that. If you actually took out the lyrics and just used the score, it would be perfect. But they are just obscenely good at everything they do when it comes to music, and I think that it was absolutely perfect, and I wouldn't change a single thing about it. Just, it was so beautiful. It's especially, like you said, the bummer mix. I love the bummer mix so much.
Steven, wrap us up. What did you think about the music?
I love Montage. And
Oh my god, the montage!
I
yeah.
don't know if that's a South Park original or an America original, because they've actually used it in South Park too.
They used it in the Aspen episode, I believe.
Yeah, so I don't know. Fucking love that song so much.
It's wonderful.
Because it's like, it just takes the piss out of all these montages you see in like Rocky.
Even
It's
Rocky had a montage.
yeah, it's like there's show a lot of things happening at once to remind everyone of what's going on.
Every scene gets a little bit better.
To show it all won't take too long. That's called a montage. I fucking love it. It was just so taking the piss.
You always fade out in a montage.
You fade out more time, seems like it's passed in a montage.
It was so ridiculous. I love that song so much. I just thought I'd bring that one up because no one's mentioned it, but generally South Park hit it nail on the head, and it wasn't as good as their music they did for the South Park movie, but it fucking comes close.
All right, guys, let's hit the big question here. What was your favorite scene from the movie and your least favorite scene from the movie? Eddie, start us off, man.
The sex scene was really funny, man. It was really funny. And the like, now you will be eaten by Kim Jong-il's panthers. And then these two cats come out. Also the part where he's like contemplating, like, oh, you can join us or there's the door. And he just leaves, and then he contemplates, like, what? How does the song go? Freedom isn't free, or whatever.
Yeah.
and then they have him standing next to these monuments. Like, dude, that was like, that's the awesome thing where they blur like reality with the puppets, and those are pretty much my favorite scenes. So as far as my least favorite scenes, I don't know. There are times where it gets really old, like, you know, the whole, like, Jihad, Akbar, Muhammad, blah, 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 blah. It's funny in the beginning, and then, like, as the movie goes on, it's just like, okay, I get it.
You get it, Jihad, Muhammad, Jihad, we get it.
Yeah. You know, I wish there was a little more elaboration on that behalf. Kim Jong-il's a dick. They showed that well enough. And, one last thing that was fucking awesome, the cockroach that comes out of his mouth.
There's actually a song, I don't know if you guys heard, in the credits that they don't play during the film, and it's called Your Useless Eric Baldwin.
Yeah. You know what's really funny is I was reading I was reading a clip from an interview while researching this, where Alec Baldwin was talking about how a lot of his daughter's friends love the movie, and whenever he would piss off his daughter and her friends in some way, they would go, "Oh, you're useless to me, Alec Baldwin."
I feel bad for Matt Damon's friends.
Well, also, what I was reading is that Alec Baldwin and Matt Damon, those two names specifically, are actually good friends with Matt Stone and Trey Parker. So I'm thinking in my head, like, oh, so that's why they got it the hardest.
Right.
Poor Matt Damon, they just ripped him to shreds.
Hey, it didn't get as bad as Michael Moore.
Well, everyone hates Michael Moore. But, so, Steven, why don't you take over? Your favorite scene, least favorite scene?
I don't have a least favorite scene. I love every part of this movie, and I don't have a bad thing to say about it. If I would, I'd be purposely trying to nitpick, so I'm not going to bother. As far as favorite scene goes, shit, it's hard to pick, but the one where he's giving the speech about his goats dying. He's fucking trying to convince them that he's a terrorist, and he's like, "Oh, yeah, and the Americans, they killed my goats, and I could hear them screaming and crying out in pain." It's like so fucking dumb.
My favorite is at the end of that speech when he's like, "So I put a jihad on them. And if you don't believe me, I'll put a jihad on you, too."
I like you. You have balls. I like balls. It's
Pussy, dick, ass. That did it for me.
The pussy, dick, ass speech was fucking awesome. And I forgot to mention it during the song, but the whole scene is I'm so lonely.
I was going to mention that one.
That was fucking awesome. He was Kim Jong-il's character is just so over the top and funny as hell. And it was funny because me and Johnna was sitting in a doctor's office once, and there was a guy that was been waiting forever, and he goes, 50 minutes, I've been waiting here 50 minutes. He sounded exactly like him.
And he had every right to be mad. He really did. Like, we acknowledge that, but
as soon as he fucking started talking to him, I'm like, dude, Kim Jong-il's in the fucking doctor's office.
To this day, like, I don't know how it started, but I went to go walk down the stairs to get something, and Steve's like, "Oh, you take forever. It's been 50 minutes." I'm like, this was back before he and I were even dating. This was years ago.
I like, Kim Jong-il's character is fucking fantastic. Yeah. There's a lot of scenes that I've actually mentioned previously, but those are a couple that stood out.
All right. Johnna, why don't you take over? What was your favorite and least favorite scenes?
I'm with Steve. If I were to pick a least favorite, I'd be nitpicking. Like, I really cannot pin anything down and say I really didn't like the scene. I have scenes I liked more than others, but I can't really say that there's a certain scene that I don't like. I love the Panthers more than anything. And at one point, they were just like licking at it, so you could tell they're definitely just domesticated house cats. So it's just, and when the first time I ever saw that movie, the mummy's like, "See how you deal with my Panthers," and I'm like, "It's gonna be house cats, isn't it?" Sure enough, there's house cats. I'm like, yes, please be house cats, and it was. I was so happy about that.
It's funny we've said that like 3 or 4 times where we see the predictable joke coming,
Yeah.
but then we still get excited and happy when the predictable joke
Well,
comes.
that's because the predictable joke that we want is so awesome. Yes. It's beautiful. And I love the I'm So Ronry song. I work at a Japanese market, and they really do have difficulties pronouncing their L's, but it's so overstated to the point where you can tell it's a parody, and it's so overstated that you want to laugh and punch them in the face at the same time, and it's beautiful. It's just beautiful. I love it.
Tony, your favorite, least favorite scenes from Team America World Police?
I gotta echo what everybody else said. I can't pick a least favorite scene. If I had to, gun to my head, I'd probably say the Bucko 5 song. Outside of the very ending, because I do like how it's just like, oh, Bucko 5. But if there's any part in the movie that drags a little bit, it might be that one. But that's really nitpicking. Favorite scene, I mean, we mentioned a lot of them. I do really like the Durka Durka Muhammad Jihad thing, especially the response back when he says that, and the guy just goes, oh, Durka Durka Durka. I love little touches like, that's bad intelligence. Sorry. The cat one, I probably would have liked the cat stuff a lot more if it would have been an armadillo, but...
I love intelligence is gone. I repeat, we have no intelligence.
Yeah.
No shit, Sherlock.
But I just really love how they hit it so hard of these parodying these movies down to like little lines. You know, Lisa says to Sarah, I think her name is, just something as simple as they would have thrown in one of these movies where she's like, I treasure your friendship. And it's so lame, and it's exactly what they would say. Or
Yeah.
There's one that's like, what was it? Sometimes believing is all you have.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Or I promise I will never die. Or he's going to fire his translator and then kills the translator. Even the character of Chris alone, everything Chris says in the movie is so fantastic. The idea of, I'm going to cut off your balls and shove them up your ass, so when you shit all over your balls. I'm like, fuck you, actor, and all this. Like, they always have that
like,
one
I'm going to
character.
give you your rights, you're going to beg for a lift.
Right.
Oh, that's so stupid. The reason he's such an asshole is that he got raped by Cats the Musical.
So they just hit the nail on the head with everything in this movie, parodying those films that they make fun of, and you gotta love it.
All right, guys, we got one last thing to talk about with Team America World Police, and that is, of course, our final rating, and did it make you feel proud of America? Tony, why don't you start us off with that one?
Probably out of everything, this made me feel the most proud because it's so over the top and ridiculous and making fun of ourselves, and that's one of the best things that we can possibly do in anything in the world. My rating? All right, well, if you were looking at it through the scope of should it be an Oscar-nominated film or something like that, obviously that's not the same as whether or not I liked it. Oscar-worthy, of course, it's not going to get to a top thing, but as far as just me as a moviegoer enjoying this or whatever, probably a 9 out of 10.
Wow.
I love this movie. I think it's fantastic.
I think that's probably the highest rating we've ever gotten on the 4-Reel movie. I think Stand By Me got a couple 9s last month.
Yeah,
But aside from that, that's really high.
The entertainment quality of Team America is the equivalent of how good Stand By Me is. I'll put it that way.
There you go. Eddie, your final rating for Team America World Police, and did it make you feel pride in America?
I'll give it a 6, and I'll tell you why. Ooh. Because I'll probably watch it again only in about like 6 years or something. Because I mean, it's funny. The first time I saw it was hilarious, but there's no to me there's no replay value. You know, like I'm not gonna go back and watch it tomorrow or next week or something. Mm-hmm. I mean, it's a cool movie. It's just it's a silly, very silly kind of like shot in the dark parody that worked. You know, but that's all it is. You know, it's not. I don't think it's a genuine work of art. But I'll tell you where the genius is. And this is tied in with the whole is it patriotic or not? I think Matt Stone and Trey Parker are geniuses because they make so much fun of everything in American culture. Sometimes they do it with style. Sometimes they do it like it's downright scatological. And sometimes, it kind of makes you think. I mean, Team America blew the shit out of half the planet, all the time. So, I don't know. It kind of makes you think, like, okay, is the world police really good for the world, or is it like just like doing what Air Force One was, Harrison Ford was doing in Air Force One, going after terrorists, regardless of the cost. But yeah, it makes you kind of patriotic, thinking like, wow, the U.S. is actually responsible for a lot of what goes on in the world. So of course, it kind of makes you go, yeah, we're top of the food chain.
Following up a little bit what you're saying there, Eddie, one thing that a lot of people don't realize with this movie is it's making fun of a lot of those world police tactics that America has. But yet, throughout this movie, there's not a single joke poking fun at the President of the United States of America, who at the time, George W. Bush, a lot of people were making fun of that guy. They specifically avoided any jokes about him because they said it was too easy.
Yeah,
so
I mean,
they
it was a
stayed
time that
creative and went for other things.
Everywhere you went. I mean, rock bands were releasing albums that were concept albums, like anti-war, anti-violence, whatever. So it makes sense. I think they're not going to do the easy thing. They would never want to do the easy thing. So they kicked ass in this whole, in their criticism, they kicked ass.
And to follow up your other point, you were saying it's a lot of one-note jokes about these puppets, and that definitely isn't something that's going to hold as much rewatchability because there's no quotables. Like a lot of comedies have those things that you're going to quote in everyday conversation. Hell, we were even talking about how we want to quote "Get off my plane" from Air Force One.
Yeah.
There's not really a lot of those from this movie.
I mean, there are some comedy movies that you can totally watch, at least like once a year, right? I mean, because
like Slam and Salmon or Superbad or something like that. I could watch those constantly. Dumb and Dumber is another good one.
The only quote I can think of would be "I'm so Ronry." That's it. Steve says it all the time. So, but that's really the only quote I can think of.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I actually, now that you say that, I think I do remember using that one myself. But yeah, besides that, it's not filled with them. I mean, there's a lot of funny lines, and if we're sitting here talking about it, we're going to crack up, but it's not like...
you can put in a daily conversation, though.
No, we're not just going to be sitting here and out of nowhere go like, freedom isn't free!
I've had like 6 people this week put a jihad on me. So.
Although I have said America, fuck yeah, a lot of times.
Yeah, to be fair, America, the song, I hear people go, America, all the time when they're talking about America.
Not only in America, that's happened, like in Europe, I've heard people say that.
Yeah.
They're like, Belgium, no, it's okay.
Well, they're better than us at soccer, so that one's timely.
Well, even the America Fuck Yeah thing, I mean, when Captain America came out, how many trailers were online where they just took the trailer and replaced it with that theme song? So if there's one takeaway, it's got to be that theme.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, Johnna, your final rating for this, and did it make you feel pride in America?
I would give it about a 7. And I agree that the fact that they can poke fun at themselves is what makes it so good. Like, I find nowadays there's so many people out there that are so freaking serious about patriotism and America and all that. It's finally somebody is able to make jokes about this and probably piss a bunch of people off in the process. But you know what? If you can't laugh at yourself, you have no right to laugh at others. And I think that's what makes it so patriotic.
You know what's funny? Kim Jong-il never tried to declare war over this movie. Yet that movie comes out with, what's their names? James Franco and Seth Rogen. And all of a sudden they're like enemies of the state over there.
Well, that's because Kim Jong-il is actually dead. Now it's his kid that's in office.
Mm.
He's worse.
Yeah, he's a lot worse.
Yeah. We should make another movie with him now.
Team America 2.
I'm so Ronry number 2.
I'm so psycho.
There's an actual sequel that I would like to see instead of the other ones we were making fun of.
Tony, your final rating Steven, your final rating for this.
I'm going to give it a 9 out of 10, and I don't know what movie I'd ever give a 10 out of 10, so I'm going to give it a 9 just because I don't think I found the perfect film yet. This film overall is just fucking kick-ass, and it can't be any more American. I mean, shit, out of everything that we've reviewed today, this is probably the closest thing to being American, truthfully. So, it is what it is, and it's fucking amazing.
All right, well, that'll wrap up things for us talking about Team America World Police. We've gone through all 4 movies now, talked about how they relate to us as people who look for something to be proud about with America, or even just as movie watchers, what we got out of it. So let me ask you guys, wrapping up in conclusion, for your best and worst of tonight's entree. Steven, what was the best movie and the worst movie you watched tonight?
Team America was definitely the best. The worst is Invasion USA.
Wow. Johnna?
I agree with Steven. The best was Team America, and the worst was Invasion USA, though I definitely enjoyed Air Force One.
All right. Eddie, how about you?
Yeah, personally, Air Force One was my favorite, though I think as a whole, The Patriot is a better work of art. But the worst one was, wow, this is really rock bottom here. It's like Invasion USA, unfortunately, kind of sucked.
And Tony, your best and worst of the bunch.
Clearly the best is Invasion USA.
Armadillo power.
I'm echoing the same comments. Team America best. Chuck Norris, you're down there all the way at the bottom.
Oh, well, a little mix-up for what we thought was the best movie tonight, but everyone agreeing unanimously, Invasion USA, starring Chuck Norris, the worst movie in our American Pride lineup.
Despite the armadillo.
Despite the armadillo. Honorable mention the armadillo.
Yeah.
This would be the part where we burn the DVD of the movie, but since this is just a podcast, we can't do that. So with that, we're going to close things up on For Real Movie Club. Go around to our hosts one last time. Give them a moment to plug anything that they want to talk about, their projects they got going on in their life, or just say goodbye to you guys. So, Johnna, why don't you start us off? What's good in the world of Johnna?
Nothing, really. I mean, everything's good, but I have nothing to plug, so I just want to say thanks for having me here.
Oh, thank you for coming. Steven, why don't you take? I know you got the plugs of the couple.
Yes.
So the bottom movie was unanimous, but if you want someone else at unanimous, you can go to Unanimous Decision MMA, udmma.com, facebook.com/udmma, and twitter.com/udmma. UFC 175 was fucking awesome with Lyoto Machida versus Chris Weidman in the main event. Ronda Rousey punching and destroying Alexis Davis in 16 seconds. You can get all your recap on udmma.com. Also, I'm going to be doing a recap of tonight's Ultimate Fighter 19 finale, so make sure you check that out. And until then, you can check out Addicted to Anime right here on Mega Powers Radio. For more information on that, go to facebook.com/addictedanimefans. Kaboom.
All I'm going to say is, in that women's fight, which one of them had to go see the medical trainer after the fight?
The one that won in 16 seconds?
Yeah.
Because she actually had a cyst under her knuckle and ripped it open, punched her in the head.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I didn't know what the deal with that was. I just know that she got her hand messed up. I didn't know if she went in there with like a cyst and was just so badass that she punched the cyst out of her hand.
Yeah, she neglected it, and then her hand ripped open.
Oh my god, that girl's incredible.
Yeah.
Oh, Eddie, anything you want to put out there to the world?
Not necessarily. I mean, well, thank you for having me on your show. It's really, I mean, it's a period where I'm not really doing anything artistic or, too creative right now. I'm still kind of putting pieces together. I'm trying to write a novel, so it's my first one. So let's see how that comes out. It's been 2 years in the making, but it's coming together. So I'll update on you.
All right.
I'll update you guys on this. Yeah.
You got like a Twitter or something people can follow to keep up with what's going on?
Yeah, I have a Twitter, and I forgot what it actually is, because I just typed twitter.com and it's on there. Just go to eddiesiqueira.com and all my links are there.
All right, we'll drop a link to that in the show notes. So if you can keep up with what's going on with Eddie, go to that website address in the show notes. Tony, wrap us out with the plugs.
All right, guys, check out everything else that's coming your way with Fanboys Anonymous. We just did a review point of Transformers Age of Extinction. Spoiler alert, Gabe and myself hated the fucking movie. So if you want to hear us bitch and complain about that, go ahead and check that out. We've got a couple other podcasts coming up pretty soon, a group meeting where we're going to preview everything coming our way with Comic-Con 2014 is going to happen next week. We're going to do another episode of the Fan Tracks audio commentary. This one's going to be Avengers, Earth's Mightiest Heroes, the Guardians of the Galaxy episode. And eventually we'll be doing Review Point and Fan Tracks for both that movie and the Ninja Turtles movie that's coming out. We have our typical shows that are going on with other networks. We've got Smack Talk. We've got the Raw Post Show and all that we'll mention from Smark Out Moment. And if you are interested in checking out anything else going out under a mango tree, just follow that and Tony Mango on Facebook and Twitter.
All right, folks, we hope you enjoyed this edition of the For Real Movie Club here on Mega Powers Radio and archived on fanboysanonymous.com. To hear more shows like this, head to either of those websites, megapowersradio.com or fanboysanonymous.com. Lots of excellent content there for you to check out and put inside your ears, your eyes, whatever you're looking to get entertained with. Please stay tuned to all of that and pay attention to the next edition of the For Real Movie Club. Chris the Daceman Dace will be back leading the helm, and he's going to be talking about National Lampoon's Vacation movies. All those great movies at Chevy Chase and the rest of the Griswolds. Look forward to that here in the For Real Movie Club. And until next time, I'm Mike Paden, signing things off for Tony Mango, Eddie Siqueira, Stephen Wago, and Johnna Wago. Good night. God bless America.
At no point in your rambling, incoherent response were you even close to anything that could be considered a rational thought.
I'm too old for this shit.
Good day, sir!
You stay classy, San Diego.
Roads? Where we're going, we don't need roads.
Frankly, my dear, I don't give a damn.
I'm finished.
That'll do, Pete. That'll do. Hasta la vista, baby.
Hey, everybody! We're all gonna get laid!
You're still here? It's over. Go home.